I have grave concerns here in Reykjavik and the sort of central cemetery here. I'm in the wee corner and I've just been here for a few minutes. Here we can see some folks with the same last name as Bjork. I don't know if they're relatives or not. There's actually quite a few I've seen with that name or similar names just in the few minutes that I've been here. There's obviously a common name in Iceland. But one of the things you'll notice about this place immediately, especially if you've been to Reykjavik or anywhere in Iceland, is how forested it is. For the most part, there are not many trees in Iceland, much less in the city. So this is an exception, quite an oasis. And that's the main reason I wanted to come here, was to just experience some foliage, which is just rare enough here. And of course, the big advantage is that it breaks the wind. There's a persistent breeze here, and with it being as cold as it is, I'm here in January. It's tough. It's windy, it's cold, it's damp. I suffered yesterday. That was my first day here. But it's about 10 degrees warmer today. It's 36 Fahrenheit. So there's another one with the same last name as Bjork, Guðmundur, as opposed to this next to it, Guðmundsson. And then here's a really nice old wooden cross, although the date of death is just 1922, but it has that kind of Arctic feel, which so much of this town has. It feels like an Arctic outpost quite often. Even the grocery store has all cement floors and just has this feeling like everything was just delivered from a container ship and is not as abundant as a regular like European or American city grocery store. Although, I think that once you get out of the city, there's a Costco here. There's all kinds of big retail here to spoil the place. So, it's something nice about the kind of quaint stores and shops that's not totally commercialized and overrun with profit. Beautiful tree here. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce these names. But of course, there's a couple of stones that are really standing out. I'm just doing a little handheld visit here. This has got a cool sculpture here. It's also useful to hold this in my hand just because of the cold. The cold really kills the battery. Look at that beautiful forestation here. It's really so exceptional. It's quite a cool looking, colorful grave here with a white stone and mosaic white gravel. And one grave that I'm looking for is I don't know if he's the first president, but he's on the 500. I'll show you. Maybe. There we go. Jón Sigurðsson. So apparently he's was working in Denmark, and this sort of the father of independence, and they have their national holiday all built around him. And he's in here somewhere, but I haven't seen anything too prominent yet, but that doesn't mean much. I've only been to one little quadrant. Not much snow here. You think, Iceland's going to be covered in snow, the entire winter. Nope, just a little dusting, even though it's been cold. And I just saw one over here, which I suppose is an old musician. We're going to check this one out. It's got an interesting sculpture. Actually, one over here too. Let's check this out. Quite mossy here in a way. My camera's going a little haywire. There we go, getting back on track. I'm just going to recenter. I like that very archaic looking relief. And then here's the cello player. Bengtsson, who only died in 2013. Erling Blöndal Bengtsson. Well, let's see if we can find Jan, the old independence fighter. There we have Jón Sigurðsson, died in 1881. Nice prominent stone here. And it's right at the edge. I guess we would say this is the southern edge of this cemetery. In fact, kind of see I'm close to the wall here. And if I go out, maybe you can see the central church. That's sort of the big landmark here in downtown Reykjavik. You can even see the mountains in the distance. And there's the church on the horizon poking out. And there's a bit of a lake. That's one of the kind of landmarks that makes this easy to find. But of course, just getting out here next to the road, it's quite noisy. I'm going to get back into the forested portion here. So if you're ever here and you want to find him, quite easy. Just look for this little chapel in the center. This is right down the central lane when you first come in. So you more or less just go straight when you come in and go to the end, and you'll find Jón Sigurðsson right there. Otherwise, let's take a look here. Now I'm getting into somewhat newer sections here. 1917 for Geir Zoga. Really great looking sculpture on there, relief. So when you first come in, the older section is to the left. And the little paths are not that obvious, you know. For example, I'm on a little path right here, just in between. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to kind of trample things and get off of the main trail. Again, you can see the mossiness. So apparently a lot of these trees, these are either, of course, native to Iceland. There's only 2 species apparently, or from Alaska. I guess some of the replantings that they did from Europe did not last. As soon as like serious frost came and a bunch of wind, it just killed the trees that were not native. So they've gotten trees from Alaska, specifically along the coast, that can take all the wind, and are using some of that. So I don't know if some of these species are from Alaska or what. My guess is these are the species that are native to Iceland. But I would think, I don't know what's going on with reforestation in this country, because apparently there was a lot of deforestation as well. from the original settlements, because you can imagine it being so cold, they needed that wood. But of course, it's it's no good. And then you've got a bunch of pastures, which is good for sheep. But you need forests, obviously, and it would be great if they could reforest this island somehow, or parts of it, because that would certainly help cut the wind. And especially around the city, that would be welcome also. You see a little white marble inset here. So I don't really know much about religious history on this island. If they're Danish, I mean, it's certainly Nordic in terms of their ancestry, and they had the politically Danish history. So I'm guessing it's more Protestant, but really don't know. I don't know what the religious history is of Denmark. And I'm seeing plenty of crosses, but I'm not seeing Virgin Marys or anything like that, and not a lot of depictions of Christ. So I'm going to guess Protestant. If I had to put money on it, I would say this is not a Catholic cemetery, but I could be wrong. Maybe there's a lot of Catholics here. Could be mixed. Christensen, Jón Sigurðsson, professor. Maybe he wrote some books. I wouldn't be surprised. So yes, the ground is quite frozen. It's not bad though. I mean, again, there's no wind in here. It's nice. Very pleasant. I picked a good day. It's gonna drop about 15 degrees tomorrow. This looks like menorah here. This looks like a Jewish grave, so I guess this is a mix. Jan, I'm not sure what that letter is. Looks like a P, but it could be a D or a TH sound. I don't know. Þorláksson, Borgarstjori. That must be his profession. Don't know what that is, but he died in 35. And that's looking pretty Jewish to me. It can't be a coincidence that these gates are like menorah. So that's unusual, but not totally. I mean, I certainly come across plenty of cemeteries that had a little Jewish section, or a few Jewish graves. This is more of a European thing to have this entirely segregated Jewish section. Of course, in Jerusalem, there's there's Jewish and Islamic cemeteries. Although, I don't know. I guess there's always exceptions, I've been in Jerusalem, and of course, Oskar Schindler is buried right in Jerusalem in a kind of a Garden of the Righteous. So, who knows? Magnus Helgeson, 1948. And you can see some of the urbanization. That's one thing I noticed coming in to the city. How sprawling it was. So the entire population of Iceland is about 450,000. And 350 of them are here in Reykjavik. So the bulk of the population is in this city. And it is fairly sprawling, with plenty of traffic and highways and all that kind of stuff. Although I was amazed at how dark it was, when you land in the airport, it's really right on the coast, and it's about, 35 miles, maybe more, from the center of town, and it's dark out there, which is nice, actually. The lack of light pollution is really great, and even in the city itself. The street lights are all properly designed, pointing down. Not a lot of ambient escaping light. So it helps keep things dark. But I have yet, of course, to see the northern lights. If you come to Iceland in the winter, like I am, you kind of certainly hope to see the northern lights. But in the city, it's tough. Even though they do a good job with their light pollution, I think, of course, it's brighter here than it would be, a couple of miles out of the city. And, if there's some cloud coverage, or, There's no northern lights going on. You're not going to see them. It's not guaranteed that if you come here in the winter, you're going to see them. I'm only on day 2. And I suffered yesterday because when you come from North America, your flight lands at 6 a.m. And I got to my hotel, which wasn't open. I just had put my luggage in storage and then walk around the city for 7 hours in the freezing cold. I really didn't have my proper insulated pants like I have on today. So, you know, I ducked into cafes and went to the City Museum, which was great. And I met Baktus the cat, who apparently is the first celebrity cat I've ever met. He's got about 17,000 Instagram followers currently here in 2026. But he was just a cat in the museum that I took a picture of and enjoyed petting. And I found out he was a famous city cat. Everybody knows him. Very, very pleasant cat, though. Like, totally chill. People pick him up, pet him. He gets a lot of attention, I guess. So he puts up with it. Little inset plot here, little family plot. Getting some birds. Of course, that's the other thing. You know, Iceland well known for the puffin. If you're here in the winter, you're not going to see any puffin. They have flown south. So, you know, expectations and hopes, and then versus reality, what you get. Yeah, a bit newer here. I think that first section I went to was a little more interesting. I'm going to pause here and pop back in. Back in the older section here. We've got a little candle. Little light. It must be battery powered or something. Oops. Yeah, I don't know. Oskarsson, 2025. This is recent. These are regular family graves. Another little lit up cross. Yeah, these must be little battery powered lights in here. The eastern edge, back to the neighborhood, and to the east of this place are, I guess what you'd call like an embassy row, a lot of embassies. So yeah, no cut-throughs here. I just walked that whole row, and to my left were, you know, all these graves with no aisles to clear through. So I could go to the wee edge along the wall, or right about here. Now we got something quite dense, and obviously not a lot of room left in here. I don't know where the more modern cemetery is, but I'm sure it's not as interesting as this visually. This is the place here, right in the center of town, more or less, just north of the downtown. And just, again, this exceptional city forest. Makes this the place. Let's see, now I'm trampling here because I've run out of aisle. And you can see this style of building here with all these vertical wooden slats. Very Arctic looking to me. And I guess that's maybe a bit of a Danish style, I don't know. Well, let's check one more aisle here. A lot of these little marble insets. And I haven't seen too many sort of gas lamps. I would imagine there were more back in the day, but here's a kind of an old iron gas lamp. Which again, I'm surprised if it works, but they don't turn the street lights on here until they have to. Right now, this time of year, there's only about 5 hours of daylight, like 11 to 4. There's a bit of a twilight around it. But otherwise, it's pretty dark this time of year. That's why you got to get out during the daylight hours.